The last of my productivity killers on dev engineering teams is not asking for help. And we see this more with junior and mid-level developers, but we see it with senior developers as well, because no one person knows everything. And so there's times when we all get stuck, and collaboration is key. How do you build into your process a way to get past this stumbling block where you don't want a particular developer to kind of be waiting? And let's be honest, it's just sort of, it's common, it's stereotypical, even if it's not everybody, that it's the case that on engineering teams that folks tend to be independent workers. I mean, they're individual contributors, their heads down in the code, and they're trying to solve the problem. So they're not necessarily asking for help when they first run into an issue. But how long is that allowed to go on before you actually dig into it and unblock them? And I've seen so many developers blocked in this way. I've also seen it be the case that working together, you can, I mean, we hear about the mythical 10x, but I've actually seen it. I've seen developers go from something like 4 story points in the span of several days, if we use that measure, to 40. And I'll describe how that's done. Simple answer, simple thing that you've probably heard of, and it's called pair programming. So what is this? This is where you bring in someone, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a senior developer or a CTO or architect that's helping a more junior developer, although that works quite well. It could actually be 2 peers. Now, I found in practice that it works quite well to inject that senior level of talent. But really what this is it's having someone else's eyes looking over your shoulder. You're going through the code line by line. Well, that's more of a code review if it's all already finished, but even if it isn't, working through it still line by line to get to an endpoint, what does that do? It forces the person who's actually doing the work to check their assumptions. Quite often, the bugs lie in the assumptions. Well, I thought that XYZ API was returning this. Well, is it really returning what you expected? Checking those kinds of assumptions, that ends up happening naturally when you're working with somebody else. Something about humans, and when someone else is there, you pay a lot more attention to the details of your work. Perhaps simply because we don't want to be embarrassed because we're not looking at it right. Whatever reason that is, psychologically, pair programming brings that out. Now, I will say that for the same reasons, a lot of teams resist it. A lot of engineers, they're like, quietly don't really want to do it. So the only way to get into having this work for your team is to make it part of the regular cadence. So that's what I would recommend. Again, bringing someone in, it could be peers on the same team. If you've got a senior leader on that team, instituting this as a practice, and if not, bringing someone in who's coming and looking from that senior architect or CTO level to go through the code with the developers. A natural outcome of this will be what I'll call real-time code review, because it's happening as it's written. And so you're getting that, in essence, for free. You're unblocking folks so that their productivity will be higher. And I've literally seen this in some cases 10x a developer's productivity over a stretch of time. And was that really because they're now 10x of what was optimal? No, it's because they were blocked and they weren't really achieving a whole ton. And then by unblocking them, they went from being maybe at a low productivity state to being at a fairly high productivity state, which is what we're looking for.